Hello, it's some dust or something. I'm here today at Amphitheater Lake with my Pycno, who's currently in a volcano skin. I gotta admit, out of all the dinosaur showcases I've done, this is the one that I took, I think, the most time trying to figure out which skin to use, because the Pycno has some awesome choices in that regard. But I wanted to make a showcase kind of talking about the Pycno. I've mentioned in the past that I really like the Pycno, and I don't think it's as bad as people say. But it's really situational, and I'm going to get into that in a little bit. But to kind of paint you a general picture, you are a large carnivore, around the same size as some of the sub-apexes. You're really fast. This is my trot, and this trot is the fastest in the game, if I'm not mistaken. And your sprint, too, is really good. Your sprint is at 1100, I think, which is the same as Meg, the same as Sty, the same as Aloe, only slightly less than the Metri, so pretty good, with decent stamina. You can see my stamina bar down there didn't go down that much, and you do have a charge for a little burst in speed if you need it. The way that I'm running this thing is, he does have 2 head slots, which is awesome, so I'm running a bite as kind of my general move, and a headbutt. The difference being the headbutt does less damage, but does apply knockback. Some pretty decent knockback, too. You also have a tail attack, and like I said before, that charge, which is really fast. Like, really, really fast. That charge is your big damage dealer as well, and does apply knockback, same as the headbutt. The only problem being that it's kind of heavy on stamina, so if you're going to use the charge a lot, just know when to cut it off. If you miss your mark, don't let it run out, you know. Cut off the charge, and try not to run off any cliffs, because this thing does take really bad fall damage. Now, I mentioned that it's fast and everything, which it is. It's got pretty good mobility. The problems are its defensive stats. Even though this is a pretty big Carno, it's only got 550 health, which is the same as Metri. And it's only got, I think, 3,300 weight, so it's on the lower end there. It's well below the sub-apexes. It's somewhere in the mid-tiers. So you're kind of frail, and you don't have the best turning radius in the world. It's not terrible. Like, I think this is better than an Aloe just by looking at it, but things like Metris and Conks and Megs could probably get behind you pretty easy and stay on top of you. So there are things to look out for in that regard. You've got to be careful with this thing. You can't just rush into battle because you're big and scary looking. You know, you got to keep in mind that you're on the frailer end, and it's easy to get yourself in trouble if you're not really using those mobility stats to your advantage. So, if we go into the abilities, that's all you get. What you see here is what you get. You got the bite, the headbutt, the charge, the tail attack, standard hide, and hyper carnivore. Your matchups are really going to come down to player ability, more so than some of the other dinosaurs. You have some tools there to be pretty effective in a fight, but you're also lacking in a lot of ways. So, you know, your grace period, you know, your margin of error is something to keep in mind there. I do think it's pretty good, though. I think this thing does well. It's fun to play as. I'm a pretty impatient traveler in this game. I tend to exhaust my stamina a lot of times sprinting. But this guy's trot isn't that bad. Usually I'll just trot everywhere with him. But the stamina really isn't even that bad anyway. With all that said, I guess we'll get into the calls and animations, starting with the broadcast. Then you got the heart call. That one really demonstrates why this thing gets called the bullfrog a lot. Does have like a froggy sound to a lot of its calls. Here's your aggro. Your alert. Your low call. Your shake it off. I really like that one. I like how he acts like a snake a little bit. You've got your question. And lastly, this weird one that looks like a stretch but isn't. So those are your animations. Now for the skins. Like I said, the skins for this guy are great. Here's your default. People call it the blue-breasted. Here's your backer, your crimson, wildcat, Firebelly, Marshland, Royal, Scrubland, Volcano, Stinger, Melanistic, and Albino. So the skins are really good. This thing's pretty fun to play as. It's awesome launching things, you know. You can have a lot of fun playing with Jubies without really risking hurting them by using that headbutt, because the headbutt really doesn't do that much damage, but the knockback on lighter dinos is insane. You just got to keep in mind, even though you're big and scary looking, like I said, you're kind of lower on the weight end, you're definitely lower on the health end. Just use that speed to your advantage, and keep in mind that you can't take too much in the way of hits. But in general, I do like this thing. Maybe I'm a little biased because Carnotaurus is one of my favorite dinosaurs. But it's fun. What can I say? It's fun. And this is one of the more rewarding dinosaurs to grind for skins with. So those are my thoughts on the Pycnonemosaurus. I hope you enjoyed this video. I hope it gave you some insight into what I think is a pretty underappreciated dino. And have a great day.